there's all these different laws that operate in the natural world and in the spiritual. Like, you know, in the spiritual, so for example, you could have a sickness, and yeah, in the natural, that sickness might be true and real, but in the spirit, there's a law of faith that supersedes the law of sickness and death. So you could have a real physical sickness in your body, but Jesus said, only believe and you'll see the glory of God manifest. So if you believe, if you pray and you believe that, no, I've been healed from this sickness, Jesus took all this sickness upon himself on the cross, like the Bible says, and you really believe it and you get rid of all doubt and unbelief, I believe the law of faith can supersede the law of sickness and death that's operating in your body, and then that's how you can get healed. It's just like even in the natural, there's laws that supersede other laws. So there's the law of gravity, right? You know, whatever goes up must come down at 9.8 meters per second, right? It's, you know, there's a law of gravity that's in effect. But the law of thrust can supersede the law of gravity. So an aeroplane with enough thrust, with enough, you know, jet power, and the right aerodynamics can supersede the law of gravity, and it can stay flying for as long as it still has enough thrust and the right aerodynamics to keep flying. So even though the law of gravity is still there, it's being superseded by another law. And it's the same in the spiritual and the natural. Like, you can have a law in the natural. Yeah, okay, sickness might be real. What you're going through might be, it feels real, because it is real in the natural. You know, you might be in a cycle of poverty. You just keep struggling, you know, all the time. And you think like, I'm never going to escape this because of X, Y, Z reasons in the natural. So whether it's sickness, whether it's constant relationship breakdowns, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, you could have this cycle that's constantly going, and you might be able to explain it, you know, in the natural. But there's laws in the spiritual that can defeat everything in the natural. Sorry, not defeat it, but can overcome it. And I believe that's what, you know, one of the benefits that Jesus died to give us. Like, yes, he died for our sin. Yes, he died for our salvation so we can be restored into a relationship with God. But there's so much else. There's so much else. There's so much else. Everything that Adam and Eve had in the garden, that relationship with God, every need that was met, you know, there was no, like, Jesus came to restore us back to that. And yeah, we might not see the complete fulfillment of it until, you know, we're in eternity, but there's no reason why we can't experience it from now if we're willing to really press in and learn all these things and get closer to God and learn how to apply these principles and these laws. Because part of it is believing and having the faith and getting rid of doubt and unbelief, and the other part of it is doing your part in this world that we live in to make sure the principles come into effect. Because, for example, you could believe with all your heart, yep, you know, like, God's going to fix my situation, whether it's relating to sickness, poverty, relationships, career issues, whatever. But then in the natural, if you're working against it, like if you're saying, yep, I'm believing for, you know, for God to heal me of this, but every time you get sick, you run straight to the medicine cabinet, well, your actions are working against your faith. That doesn't mean you don't take medicine. I'm not saying that. You know, like, I've had countless examples in my own life where I was believing for something, but then God showed me, yeah, but the way you're living is not in alignment with what you're believing. And so I had to change the way I was living to set it up to, you know, basically receive the thing that I was believing for. Hope some of those nuggets helped. Feel free to ask any questions you might have, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.